joining, coming to you live from the Purdue Streamlab studio, downtown Corpus Christi, Texas. Today we have Joshua Verduzco. What's going on?
What's going on, man? Thank you for having me.
Yeah. How did you feel when I invited you on the show?
I was like, let's talk.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier you like podcasting.
Yes.
Yeah. So you like the art of conversation.
Oh, I love it. I've watched so many podcasts, as a lot of people have. I think in the end of the day, most humans are inherently love to have a conversation.
Yeah. That's what's up. Have you always been like that, to where you like having conversation with people?
No. In fact, I was a very quiet kid, but I would observe a lot.
Yeah.
And I think after so many years of observing, I finally said, okay, I have something to say.
Oh, nice. So I guess you had to figure out how to converse at that point too, right?
Absolutely. I used to be terrified of talking.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I like conversation too, man. And sometimes I like it so much that people were like, dude, just stop talking, leave me alone. And sometimes I don't know if they want me to talk to them or not, so I just test the water. Yeah. Just throw something out there and try to figure out if they do want to talk or not.
Well, and that's a great point, because oftentimes we're also looking to resonate or connect with people very immediately or quickly. And that's what I try to do as well, is not everybody's going to want to talk in the beginning, but if I can find something that just sparks, that ignites them, then we'll have a conversation for hours.
Yeah, a similarity. That's what I noticed too. Like, find something that's similar and just focus on that.
Look at us. As soon as I said podcast,
yeah, exactly. Which wanted to shout out to the podcast that you were recently on. I forgot, what was it?
Charge the Line.
Charge the Line. Yeah.
With Roger.
Yeah,
shout out to them.
Yeah, hey, he's from Corpus. Right? Yeah.
UFC fighter.
UFC fighter.
Yeah.
I thought so. Didn't he have a gym or somewhere in town?
Yeah.
Yeah, he does, right? Near Flower Bluff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know where he's at now, but I mean, we all move. We're always all moving. So
yeah.
Great guys over there. T and Roger were great hosts, great podcasters. So I'm looking to go back on their show too as well.
Nice.
For a second one.
And you're contemplating on starting one yourself.
I would love to start a podcast. I mean, you know how everyone says, for your friend or whoever, hey, we should start a podcast, bro. Mm-hmm. But it's, if you want to do it legit, in a legit way, I mean, there's a lot of things that you need to learn yourself, from audio to video to et cetera, to uploading. But if you have that, if you're ready for all that, then yeah, absolutely, you can do it. You can make it happen.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's fun, man. I like it. Well, welcome to the show, man. So
thank you.
Yeah. So people who don't know you, introduce yourself.
Yeah. So, I like to say that I'm just like everyone else, just a person on this earth who enjoys just the fact that he was born in the United States, born a human.
Yeah.
Very grateful for everything around me. That's the type of outlook I have on life in general. I had my fair share of challenges, just like every other human on this earth. But I think all in all, I'm just grateful for this opportunity and this shot I get at life.
Nice.
I'll just do a brief little overview. I mean, I was homeschooled. Many people don't know that. I was homeschooled from 2nd grade to 9th grade, never went to a public middle school, and alongside with my 3 other brothers, and had both of my parents, and they raised us. My mom taught us all the different subjects from those respective grades, and eventually went to high school, Moody High School, shout out to them, and graduated in 2009. And had zero plans of ever going to college. But it wasn't up until I was working at a pawn shop in 2009. I was 19 years old. And it was Cash America down on Port and Airs.
Yeah.
And I was looking around, and I saw my coworkers who had been there for their respective years, 10 years, 20 years, some 30 years. And I asked myself, do I want to be doing this for a long time? And I said, no, I think I have other interests outside of this. And at the time I was dating this girl, and she was going to university, and she said, hey, you're a smart dude. Why don't you consider going to college? I was like, really? Okay. I don't know what I want to do. And so I thought about it right? I thought about finance. I thought about, science and all the main, topics or subjects. And I just said, you know what? At the time, I was getting really into working out at the old Freedom Fitness down Staples, where Corner Bakery is. And I was like, wow, I'll just be like every other meathead and go into kinesiology. And I started at University of Corpus in 2011, fall of 2011, and started pursuing some type of degree.
Yeah.
And just like everyone else, didn't know exactly what I wanted to get into, and changed my major several times. So all you kids out there who feel like it's the end of the world, that you don't know what you're going to do, it happens to every single person. But eventually something will catch your eye, something will possess you, if you will, and you'll become interested in it. And that interest in biology or science and the human body eventually led me to pursuing 2 degrees in nutrition.
Nice.
I left A&MCC to then attend Texas A&M University of Kingsville.
Right.
Yeah, and that's where I completed both of my degrees.
Both of them. So you got the bachelor's in, was it science?
Yeah, human science, and then master's in human science as well.
Dope. That's awesome. And they're both in, so you're a dietitian?
Yes.
Registered or certified? Or
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So it's a registered dietitian nutritionist.
Yeah. You were mentioning in the podcast, I could be a nutritionist, you could be a nutritionist, and
correct.
everybody would be cool with it.
Yeah.
But as a dietitian, you got to be certified, I guess, in the state of Texas, right?
So the way it works is once I complete the appropriate program at university, then I have to complete a unpaid dietetic internship. And that internship can vary from anywhere from 6 months to 12 months.
Oh, man.
And again, unpaid. And that's exactly what I did. In 2018, I did a 9-month unpaid internship, and we had clinical rotations. So I went to hospitals, I went to long-term care facilities to provide nutrition services for the patients. They also put us in community settings. So I also worked at the food bank for a little bit, as well as food service industry as well. So I worked at a hospital, but inside of the kitchen.
Wow.
So lots of various aspects within nutrition. And after I completed the 9-month internship, I was then eligible to take the examination for dietitians. And this is nationally recognized.
Oh, wow.
And so, and a lot of people know this because I did share it back in 2018. I failed my first exam.
Wow.
And that was a defeating blow because all throughout my college career, I did exceptionally well. I made the dean list several times over. Wow. I was an A and B student. So to finally fail at the top of where you're about to get your degree and, enter the professional career, I failed.
Wow.
And that was a crushing blow for me at the time, at my age and where I was. But of course, I didn't come all that way just to say, whatever. I allowed myself to feel. I remember the room got dark and my stomach turned and it was an ugly feeling. But after that, I let that pass and I said, okay, what's the plan? Take the test in another 30 days. Passed it. Don't even think about it. Don't even remember it. But it was a great opportunity for me to learn about myself and just some challenges that everybody faces. Yeah,
man, just to get to one degree is a lot of work.
Yes.
It's a lot of studying. I have a degree in music. You still got to do work and stuff like that. Yeah. But just that is, I got to the last semester and I was like, man, I don't want to do it.
I know.
You know what I mean?
That's same here.
You get that feeling.
Yeah.
So, how do you overcome those types of adversities? Have you always been that way? How do you find yourself doing that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think, again, like I mentioned earlier, instead of telling yourself that you can't feel these things, allow yourself to feel those things. Welcome those emotions, whether it's anger, whether it's sadness. But then after you allow yourself to experience that an array of emotions, then come back to the plate and be like, okay, what needs to be done?
Wow.
And I think I've been able to do that over the last several years. So it allowed me to freely feel, but then also get back on plan.
Wow, I like that. I like that. Don't welcome those emotions because they're going to keep coming throughout your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So just being able to overcome that adversity, man, that's awesome. Yeah. So you're registered in the United States.
So the credential is recognized nationally, but then I'm licensed in the state of Texas.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So you got to get both of those.
Yeah.
Right on. Yeah. So and when I think dietitian, or actually nobody uses that word.
Sure.
It's always, what is it?
Nutritionist,
Yes. And I'm thinking like people that go to the gym all the time. This, gym buffs or gym rats, I guess you could call them. But what you work with people that are actually like sick or have diseases, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So do you have nutritionist plans for like the gym rats, I guess you could say, or you do? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I've worked with a variety of clients, patients, people from all walks, from youth all the way to elderly, all the way from patients who have these variety of different diseases to just your average person who wants to look great at the beach.
Yeah, right on. That's cool. And I want to go back. You mentioned homeschool, which are you considering homeschooling your kids?
I don't know yet.
You don't know?
Yeah, I don't know enough about the landscape. I hear things all the time, right? Public school, this, that, and then private schools, and then there's science and technology. Those are good ones. Like I don't know enough yet.
Yeah, for sure. It's pretty lax in the state of Texas. Actually, there's not a lot of constraints. It's actually very interesting. I ask you that because you're my daughter's being homeschooled.
Oh, okay.
So
awesome.
And you said you were homeschooled up until high school. And then you said it was a culture shock.
Was. Yeah.
Okay, because you're always with your unit at home, and then you go to high school. Like, how much of a culture shock was it for you?
Yeah, so I think, again, what helped me from initially as a freshman in high school was that I had joined the football team. I immediately was assimilated to some type of group, and that made me feel good. I felt like, okay, I knew some people, and I'm part of this club or group, which is the football team.
Yeah.
And so that did help the transition. But even then, I was just so used to my parents, so used to my brothers, to when now I started interacting with all of these peers, these other kids my age, and hearing how they talked, seeing how they behaved. Not that I was any better. It's just I didn't know anything, or a whole lot. And so I think from that sense, like I mentioned earlier off the chat, that I was just observing. And so, if someone were to speak to me, I'd come up with some replies. But other than that, I just observed a lot.
Do you feel like you were on a different level, I guess, with your peers? Like, you know what I'm saying? Because I would think that because I think you would learn more when you're with your parents as opposed to being with your peers.
Oh, I see what you mean.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I don't think I was really thinking that at the time because I was still, a young kid.
Right.
And I was like, okay, do I look good? Am I going to be attractive to girls? Like,
right. You
still in that mindset that you fall into when you're in that type of environment. And maybe that's probably not a good thing, because to your point, maybe my parents were instilling all these things, these values, these paths that they wanted us to take. But then the public school system is just, I realized very quickly, I was like, oh, this is just about hooking up and, just getting distracted, basically.
Exactly, yeah.
Not that they're setting it up that way, but it's just, I don't know. It's just, that's how it works, I guess. And so I will say from that standpoint, I started to get distracted in public school versus homeschool, obviously. It only makes sense.
Yeah.
You're there with your parents and they want the best for you. And then you go into this public school system where you have very little monitoring and you're kind of fending for yourself, which is still good.
Right.
I'll say that because I didn't need to learn how to socialize.
Of course, yes.
And so from that aspect, I think it did help me.
Right. Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, I agree to that too. And even having my daughter, I'm like, she's got to get around her peers. She can't just be around us all the time.
Yeah.
She's got to learn how to be herself among her peers.
Yes.
Which, because like I was diagnosed ADD, ADHD or whatever.
Sure.
And I understand that a little bit more nowadays. And I look back, I'm like, this is why this happened. You know what I mean? Because I'm socially awkward too. I don't get social cues and all this stuff. As you can imagine, a young kid doesn't get those cues.
Sure.
Kids can automatically just cast them out. You know what I mean?
Or bully them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So the topic of bullying, that's it's interesting you bring that up. I guess there's really no safe place for bullying because they say safe space or whatever,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
So bullying, it's gonna happen. So I guess, like you said, learning how to, I guess, have those adversities.
Yeah.
To help you. So what would you teach your kid? Like if somebody is bullying them, like how would you teach them to handle that?
First of all, I don't know yet,
Yeah.
but if I had to make something up right now on the top of my head based on my values and my beliefs and everything that I've learned so far in life,
Yeah.
I guess it would be kind of find the source of why this person is doing those particular things. I mean, it just depends on if they're being physical or not, or just verbally. So it's a lot of context, but I guess I would want my child to be curious about why that person is doing it rather than combative or reactive.
Right.
And just, in a sense, feel sorry for them, feel sorry for the bully that they're having to display these outbursts and these derogatory comments to everyone around them, and just be like, oh, that's interesting, you know. Maybe ask them a question. Like, what's causing you to do this? Obviously, that's in a perfect scenario. I mean, when you're, going combat with a bully straight on. I mean, I don't know. It's just, you would contact somebody who's a parent or a authority in that facility, and then go from there. But I would just teach them, like, hey, look, don't wall in fear when someone comes to you. You know, stand up for yourself and speak clearly and concisely. So I would just teach them how to speak, essentially.
Yeah, and like it's kind of along the lines of equipping them to, this can happen. It's not you. This person can have this or whatever. That's interesting.
Yeah,
that you bring that up, because there's two people involved in that transaction.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. You're coming from another place. Hi, Francesca on YouTube. Yeah, that's awesome, man. So Moody Trojans in the house.
Yep.
What's going on? That's what's up, dude. I've had several people on here. Moody, like a handful, like they're all Moody people, man.
Yep.
And I'm just like, what's going on over there at Moody, man? What's in the water? You guys are.
There's a lot of us.
Did I tell you that? Yeah, there is. There is. There's another guy. He makes cleats.
Okay.
For athletes and stuff
awesome.
like that. And he's from the Moody area too.
Yeah.
And it's all like, and you said you had side hustles, and a lot of y'all have side hustles. So what are you working on now?
Yeah, so currently my side hustle would be basically media, specifically photography and videography. A little bit of nutrition consulting, but primarily media at this time.
So why is that? Why'd you decide to do that?
But I'll tell you exactly why. So when I was a child, I was very, very interested in the creative space. So I would love to draw, paint, build Legos, puzzles. My grandma had these 3D puzzles where you would build up, but they were puzzles, they were castles. And I just loved, every time I go to my grandma's, I'd be like, Grandma, you got that castle? And I would just build it. And I loved building things and seeing things come up from my mind to creating something. And played the drums as well in church. I did that for a couple of years when I was a kid. So again, I had this creative spark to me. And it kind of left me as I started to pursue academics and put it away for a long time. And during the pandemic in 2020, I had some time to kind of think about life. I think everybody did at that point. And I just started watching some YouTube videos about photography. Dope. And purchased a Canon Rebel T7i on Facebook Marketplace. It was my first camera. And fell in love with it. Again, it was the same kind of creative itch where I had an idea in my head and then I could actually create it. And that was in the form of photography and visuals and videography.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, creativity is big, because you can stick to academics for a while, but then you just want to be creative. Like I found myself at work. It's very monotonous doing the same thing over and over. And I have like a journal and I'll just draw stuff, just doodle, you know what I mean? To get that out. You got to get it out somehow. But yeah, I like that. Do you find like whenever you're being creative, do you intertwine it too, like academics? Because you're a dietitian. Is there some way that you intertwine that, I guess, in your practice?
Oh, absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up, because now that you mention it, first of all, real quick, I used to doodle in church all the time and get in trouble for it. Yeah. But so basically, every time I would look at some sort of handout, Maybe it was for work and it was already created by the company. Maybe it was patient education about nutrition or foods or something like that. I would look at it and be like, I could do it better. And so I would create my own handouts, my own content, my own ways of thinking, because I just felt, and it wasn't more of like I'm better than everyone else. It's more of I want to put my spin on it. And I feel that it's going to be able to resonate with that patient or client even better. And so maybe that's where the creative side comes into things, is where I come into some situation and I ask myself, how can I make it better? And not because I have to fix things. It's mainly because I just enjoy the process of making something better. And so I think that's where it
do you
comes
get
from.
that a lot, where people are like, they think that, oh, he thinks he's better than everybody? Well, I guess we get that in our culture, don't we?
Sure,
Like some people are like, oh, he thinks he's better because he's got a degree or he's doing that.
Yeah.
Do you get that? Do you feel like you get that from people?
I have, especially in a management position. But again, I don't know if it was a management position itself. Maybe the fact that I needed to learn more how to conversate peer to peer versus just how I normally conversate. And these were things that all my general manager taught me as well when I was in a first time management position, which I welcome. So from time to time, yes, but then also I'm careful not to be so hard on myself when people give me that feedback, because they might be just projecting their own insecurities, projecting their own, dissatisfaction with their own lives. And I just feel for them rather than get upset with them.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, definitely. I get that too sometimes. I guess because I've hyper focused on stuff and I just want to do the best that I can at it. And I get that from people like, I'm just like, dude, this is just how I do it. You know what I mean? I hyper focus on stuff and I get good at it. And I could see how some people can get insecure, be like, or even feel like risk of them losing their job or something because you're doing it better than them,
Yeah, lots of that, yes.
Speech Check says that's just insecurity on YouTube. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So you got your creative outlet going on the side, and you just recently got out of debt, right?
I did, but then I jumped right back in.
Oh, why? Why'd you do that? Oh my God.
I'll tell you why. So when you saw that post, maybe almost a year ago, I was very excited, right? I worked my butt off to get to that point. But I'm not going to lie. As soon as, like, not even 2 days, I was like, this is boring. And I'm like, there's nothing to strive towards. And obviously I'm just being silly there. Obviously investments and all that stuff, right? But I guess maybe the conditioning over the years is like, well, it feels so unnatural. So let me just jump right back in the debt pool, literally.
Right.
And I did, it's just at the time I was still enjoying my life, I went and bought a Corvette C8, just everything that I've actually had never done when I was like 21 to like 28.
Right.
So my the 20s where you're just like buying your favorite sports car and you're just spending all your money on your clothes. That happened to me like 2 years ago. So it was just the timing and the phase of my life, and I don't give myself a hard time for it. But at the same time, I learned a lot though during that time where I was able to pay off all my debt.
Yeah. What are some of the things you learned in that case?
The biggest thing would be make more money. And as much as it sucks to hear that, that will always override everything. Now we can get into okay, you got to save, which I agree 100%. But then again, it's like, well, why don't you just, that's like a Band-Aid, right? Saving. Because the ultimate route is, okay, if you prefer this type of lifestyle because your spending is always high,
right,
then find a way to compensate that by making a little bit more money.
Nice. Yeah. So is that another reason why the side hustle, or?
Yes, because I enjoy a certain lifestyle.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just like, well, then what needs to be done?
Right on. Yeah. So you just recently got engaged. Is that one of the topics that y'all would talk about? I guess finances when you're looking for a partner or whatever. Is that one of the things y'all talk about?
So previous to the angel that was sent from heaven, my fiance.
You better say that.
Yeah, and I mean it. And so, shout out to my fiance and are expecting our little baby. It's going to be a baby girl. We found out just recently.
Congrats.
Thank you. And so, anyways, with her, yes, absolutely. And that's what even kind of made a stronger case for me to say this is the one.
Yeah.
Because she was already having those types of serious conversations, and to most people, especially in the modern dating world, it's a turnoff, right? Like, why are you talking about that?
Yes.
You know, like, we're just trying to have a good time.
Right.
But to me, it was attractive as hell. I was like, yes, let's talk about family, values, beliefs, finances. Because in the end, you're trying to set yourself up for the rest of your life with someone that's in front of you. And so I think that was a great, we did, in fact, talk about all those things.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like you said, not a lot of people think towards that.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about earlier, too, that, or even she was mentioning that, you know, that's the number one problem, number one reason why marriages fight.
Yes.
Is finances.
Yeah, well, she's been in the finance industry for about upwards to 7 years. And so that's all she would see when she would see couples and just people come in and their stories. And so she learned a lot being in the industry and being a loan officer.
No, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've been trying to get, because I follow the Dave Ramsey plan, right? And then, of course, I get out of debt. I'm trying not to go back into debt. But there's the argument, you need a credit score to get a house, right?
Sure.
So I'm trying to get some loan officers on here that do manual underwriting.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if it's possible, because some people are like, it's not possible, you need your credit score or whatever. But I just want to get some loan officers to be like, yes, it is possible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it's some loan officers don't want to do the work, maybe.
I wouldn't know, but
You know what I'm saying?
I'm pretty sure Sierra, my fiance, could direct us in the right direction. So
that's cool.
Get ready, babe.
Yeah, for sure. We might have you on next. Nice. Yeah. So we got the creative thing out of the way. You're doing that, and you mentioned you wanted to, or you've been getting into the barber industry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why so? Why that industry?
I think, the funny thing, the irony of all this is that I'm losing hair. So the fact,
I'm right there with you, bro.
Yeah, exactly. So we're getting older. Right? But yeah, for outside of just, having hair to be proud about, it was just more the fact that I met some really, really interesting people within the barber industry in the last year and a half.
Wow.
And so just by default, just by the mere connection to those individuals, and I'll name one of them right now. His name is Manuel Garcia, who has made an impact on my life, and just the things that he's shared with me about his life and his growth and where he wants to go. Basically, he's the owner of a barber studio, barber shop. It's called First Class Barber Studio. Okay. So shout out to them. Shout out to me, Manny, and all his team there. But that was really the kind of the entry point for me in terms of focusing my media with barbers.
Right.
Now, I will say really quickly that I it's not just exclusively barbers. Like, I still will take on a variety of different projects. Right. This is a plug for myself, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Weddings, just any type of project I'll still take on. But this is kind of I'm personally interested in. And the main part of this pursuing the barber industry is because I feel like barbers are very, very interesting themselves. The fact that they've chosen to pursue this path of cutting hair and everything that surrounds that, and all the stories that they have on how they got into cutting hair has been pretty interesting to me, at least personally. Yeah. And so when I started to talk to barbers and put them on a camera and just ask them, hey, share your story, I think I want to hear more, and that keeps leading me on to meeting more interesting individuals who cut hair for a living. So
yeah, definitely. Shout out to that community, man. There's obviously a lot of content around there.
Yeah.
I look on TikTok and like some of the For You page, barbers, they just show up. Yeah. I'm like, man, there's an industry going on around this. Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely, man. Yeah. And they hear stories from their clients too. You know what
exactly.
I mean? Yeah. It's some of them are even like therapists, I want to say, like, quote unquote, because they're like counseling them or whatever, just depending if they want to take that route.
Yeah. And I think it's any person in the service industry, right? Whether it's a hairstylist, whether it's a barber, whether it's a personal trainer, whether it's a therapist. I mean, these are all individuals who are, providing that service and to humans, and they're getting to have that conversation, that dialogue with them. And we're all finding out that each one of us are very interesting people out here.
Yeah, that's an interesting word that you mentioned, service. And a lot of us are in service. Do you like, well, so the people like in your dietitian, do you call it a practice? Or do you call it a...
Yeah, you can call it a practice.
So in your dietitian...
field.
So in your field, the people that you treat, do you call it treat? I don't know what you say. The people that you talk to, are they do they come to you, or are they like suggested to you? You know what I'm saying?
So I actually work at a dialysis center.
Okay.
So it's basically, the company's called DaVita, and it's essentially a center where patients come to get their kidneys filtered because their kidneys no longer work. And most patients will attend the dialysis center 3 times a week, every week, for the rest of their lives.
Whoa.
And unless they're able to have the fortunate opportunity to get a kidney transplant, whether that's through a live donor or through, someone who, they have inventory of kidneys, basically. And so essentially I'm there, Monday through Friday. And I work with these, patients on a daily basis. So I see them every day, basically. And in that situation or in that context, essentially building rapport with them, indefinitely. And I have conversations with them. I learn about them and their families and their beliefs and their values. And it's a perfect conversation to have, is that I believe that's the best approach when it comes to providing some type of service or some type of plan, whether it's a nutrition plan or exercise plan, is first just seeing them as just another person and having a regular conversation. Instead of saying you need to, you must, you have to eat this way and these foods. They're going to tune you out so quick because in reality, humans don't like to be told what to do. And in the space of nutrition, since I've been doing this for a long time now, we often think we like to be told what to do. Just give me a diet plan so I can follow it. But deep down inside, you don't want me telling you to eat a chicken breast and asparagus at 3 o'clock, as your 4th meal. You really don't. You think you do, but you don't. You want me to help you build the skills necessary to manage your meals across time, because the average person who lives to be around 82 years old is going to eat approximately 89,642 meals in their lifetime. That's the biggest meal plan I would ever have to put together for somebody. So my point is I'll use the old adage, which is, instead of giving a man a fish, you're going to teach him how to fish so he can fish for the rest of his life and provide for himself and his family. And that's essentially the core of how I like to approach food eating in someone's body is let me help you. Let me teach you the skills necessary rather than just tell you. Yeah.
So it seems like you get to the root of the problem.
Yeah.
Nice. Actually to talk to the person, see and you mentioned too in the podcast, like you see what they're going through. There's a deeper issue for a lot of them too.
Yeah.
Is there a common issue that you find among your patients or your clients?
In what context?
Like, I guess.
What's the common problem that most people have?
Yeah. Like, I guess because you get a lot of Hispanics, I imagine.
Sure.
Right, and a lot of us are diabetic, obese. You know what I mean? So when you get to know them, do you like figure out like, oh, this is why they're like that? Because I remember growing up and my aunts and uncles are like, you got to eat all your food. You know what I mean? That's one thing. So is that like something like that?
No,
are those types of things that you see common in your...
Yeah. So that would be under the aspect of culture.
Okay.
As you just mentioned.
Yes.
And so we know that culture plays a huge role in terms of why we do the things that we do, whether it's food to traditions to, the things that we choose to consume, whether it's television, everything basically. culture drives all of those behaviors and that decision making.
Right.
So me as a practitioner, as a clinician, I take note of that. That's it. I don't really speak upon it because at the end of the day, I want to encourage or empower them rather than say, I'm going to take your culture away. And I never want to do that, at least my approach. There's others who out there say they'll slap them on the hand and say, put that tortilla down for the rest of your life. I don't, that's not my approach.
Wow.
I never will be.
So there are dietitians that do that type of stuff.
Correct. Yes.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So you're trying to avoid that.
Yeah.
Wow. So how do you, in talking in terms of service, how do you find yourself but approaching people that, I guess, once you get to that point where you too try to tell them about nutrition or whatever, and they decide still not to do it, how do you keep what type of attitude do you keep in terms of service? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I let them continue doing it. Because it's not a matter of me wanting for them. It's a matter of them wanting it for themselves. Now, I will always be here as a soundboard, as a person who can provide resources. But I learned that early, probably in the middle of my career so far. Because early on, I was that dietitian. I was like, no, like this is good for you and you need to listen to me. And you know, it doesn't matter how you feel or this or that. And it got me nowhere. I never saw those people again. They went back to their ways of managing their life, and it didn't get nowhere. But rather I started to learn a little bit more about human behavior, psychology, cognitive behavior therapy. And that kind of opened my eyes to be more of a understanding dietitian, someone who is really listening to a person rather than just ready to talk over them. And we learned this. We were actually taught this in dietitian, in the dietitian field. It's called motivational interviewing. You could look it up, and there's lots of books and courses and programs on this. But essentially, it teaches dietitians to speak less, let the client be at the forefront of their therapy. And we're just merely there to guide them and be a resource to them.
I love that. That's awesome. It's a totally different approach as to just you do this, you do that.
Oh, absolutely.
Because people,
that's the old school way.
Yeah, of course. And people, and old school way too. If you don't do it, this is what's going to happen.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So people we're feared into it. But it's more like, no, you got to actually think about this and actually make a change. So you have seen some results in the change in how you approach it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because we get to the root of the problem, or at least we get close to it. A lot of times, for example, I had this consulting patient who came to me. He was a refinery worker. And the reason he came to me was the initial scare. His doctor told him that he had elevated A1C, which for those who don't know, A1C is basically a 3-month average of your blood sugars.
Whoa.
And if that A1C is a certain number, usually doctors like to see it less than a 6.5. And if it's around a 7 or higher, then they kind of, with other parameters, they'll diagnose you as someone who has diabetes. So he was scared. So he had an emotion, right? And he comes to me and he says, hey, tell me what to eat. I want to avoid having full-blown diabetes. Wow. I have kids. I have a family. Just please tell me what to eat. And of course, I see where he's coming from. I know he wants me to tell him to eat, so he avoids these consequences that the doctor told him. And I could easily just type up a meal plan and give it to him, and he can go follow it. But I've seen this over and over again. He'll do it for 2 weeks, but then the fear will decline, and he'll forget about it, and life hits him again. And he goes back to the ways that he was before, and we got nowhere, and it probably got worse. So I learned that over time, and that's the easy way out too. I can Google something, print it out. Here you go, bro. $150. Done within 30 minutes.
Wow.
But I already know, and I guess that's where my ethics come in to some degree. I'm not perfect either, but
right.
I'll spend some time with him. I say, hey, look, and if I need to charge, more because he's going to stay with me longer and I let them know from the outset, then I'm going to do that too. So we both win in the end.
Right.
He's paying for my service and my time, and I'm going to provide him with high quality service as well in return.
Nice.
So anyways, he was concerned. So the first thing I said was, how's your activity level? Because in the end, activity will actually give a lot of people more room for error when it comes to their food choices.
Interesting.
And I think that's not spoken enough about and positioned in that way.
Right.
And so it does not mean a lot of people will hear this message and they'll think, oh, well, I guess I could just exercise and then eat Taco Bell and McDonald's and Skittles for the rest of my life. And the person is joking. I get it. And that's okay.
Maybe if you're an athlete.
Yes. Maybe if you're a DJ Metcalf from the Seattle Seahawks, his diet is crazy. Look it up.
It reminds me of Marshawn Lynch. How
Exactly. Well, and there's something to it. So actually, whenever I get into conversations, because I love topics about food nutrition, nice. I could talk about it all day, every day. And think about professional athletes and specifically offensive linemen from the NFL. Those guys are huge.
They're huge.
Right? They're 6'5", 6'7", 6'2". They're over 300 pounds. But why don't they have diabetes? Why don't they have cardiovascular disease? That is
interesting.
Here's why. Their activity level. The fact that they are constantly moving and exercising, their body is utilizing all of that food that is coming in, regardless of the quality, whether it's McDonald's or Skittles or fish or asparagus, it's all going to utilize that and put it in the right places. We talked about, I talked about this.
Right.
And it isn't up until those offensive linemen or athletes retire, then they start seeing all those diseases, right?
Because they stop the activity.
Yes. And we could think about it in our own lives. When we stopped high school, right? When we left high school or we left college, what happened? The freshman 15, right? We gained all the pounds. After high school, you have your high school reunion. You're like, bro, what happened? And it's the same idea, right? Our activity levels have declined so much, once we enter adulthood and we have all these responsibilities. And even more so now with the stress of the economy.
Stress of the economy, bro. So is it hard? So it's hard to buy food, you're saying, in that regard? Well,
I would say it's hard to pursue more leisure-like activities, like walking, like exercising, because we're so focused on trying to make money to pay for our food, to your point, and to just support our family.
Yeah, for sure. Oh man, yeah, activity. Wow, that's awesome. So when I guess diet comes in if you have less activity as opposed to those football players or whatever. You still do a little bit of activity, but you can eat bad, but not all the time. So that's where a good diet comes in.
It can, and I take issue with the terminology of good diet, bad diet.
Okay.
Only because it kind of trains or conditions people to, again, remember how many meals we're going to have, the average person?
Right.
89,000.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
600 meals. And this is if the standard person lives to 82 years old and they're having 3 meals a day. That's how many meals they're going to have. Almost 90,000 meals.
Okay.
Right? Their entire lifespan. And so here's why this is important and why I believe it's important. Is because all those entire 90,000 meals that you're going to have your entire life, you're about to have the most anxious and disturbing and regretful experience 90,000 times because you were taught that you only need to eat clean. You were taught that there are bad foods and good foods. And every time you sit down to enjoy quote unquote bad food, you're going to have a negative experience. You're going to have a negative outlook about yourself, about the way you look. And so I don't agree with having this idea of good and bad foods. The position that I take, because then people are going to say, well, Josh, then what is good food? Yes. What is bad food?
Yes.
Help us. And I say, you made it this far, right? Mm-hmm. You made it this far eating the meals that you've enjoyed and the quantities that you have enjoyed, and you're not dead. You're still alive, okay? Mm-hmm. So all we need to do now is take a look, pause for a second, and start paying attention. Start paying attention now closely to what is down at your plate, and not in a judgmental way, not me or nor you. What's going on here? Am I having, the second portion? Am I having a calorie beverage versus a non-calorie beverage or just water? Am I having that snack at 11 p.m.? Start to just pause for a second and pay attention to what you're actually doing. And a great way I like to describe this is we walk in rooms every day, right? Various different rooms. We just walked into a room today. And we do this mindlessly. We walk into our work, which is a room. We walk into our home, which is a room. We don't think about it. We don't think about what's in the room. We don't think about the smells of the room. We don't think anything. We just walk into rooms. Okay. So now what if I placed you in an escape room? That room becomes your dungeon.
Oh, crazy.
Now you're so curious about the room, right? You're looking at every detail, every crevice, because you're trying to find clues and keys to get the hell out of the escape room. Have you ever been in an escape room before?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, they have some in Corpus.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
No
So,
kidding.
and they're theme based too. So it could be like pirate or Caribbean themed, and
Okay.
you have to open these chests and figure out these
Like a quest,
puzzles.
like a quest trying to get out of the room. Okay.
So the example I just gave is that we mindlessly enter rooms all day, but as soon as I put you in the right context and tell you you have to find clues in order to escape this room becomes a vast and interesting adventure. It's the same thing with food and how humans eat. Every day we are mindlessly eating meals because we have to. It's a conditional need.
Right.
If we don't eat, we die. We're eating in various quantities. We're eating some plant foods. We're eating some animal foods. We're eating large meals. We're eating smaller meals. We're eating very high calorie meals. We're very low calorie meals. We're drinking this. We're drinking that. We're just getting it done. We're getting the job done.
We're getting the job done right.
Yes. But it isn't until I come in the picture and I help a client or patient, I say, hey, look, let's pay attention. That's it. They call it an observer effect. So now the fact that you're paying attention, guess what happens? Behavior changes happen instantaneously.
Crazy.
Because now you're going to go look at your dinner tonight and you'll be like, what am I eating?
What's in here? Yeah.
And not necessarily the point of like, there's something toxic in there. I don't believe that either. It's more of, did I come to my meal hungry? Am I enjoying what I'm eating? And did I leave comfortably? Okay. It's more of those kind of ponderings than, is this healthy? Is this no, not at all. It's more of just get curious with how you're eating versus I'm not personally, my approach, I'm not crazy about what people eat. I'm more concerned with and how to fix not what they're eating, but how they're eating. That's more my concern. Chaotic and impulsive. Their approach to their food and eating and their body. That's what I'm most concerned with, because once someone solves how they fix how they're eating, usually the what they eat kind of resolves itself on its own. And I've learned a lot of these things from Dr. Kashi, and I want to make sure I give him credit.
Oh, yeah.
So shout out to him.
Yeah.
But I really have implemented that in my practice and my approach, and I think it's a great tool, and it helps a lot of people in the long run.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Shout out to Garza on TikTok. Thanks for joining, man. Appreciate you. Yeah. So you're mentioning this stuff. It's interesting to me because I'm thinking like, okay, we have to change the way you're describing this. Like, I have to change my outlook on it because I've been hearing the food pyramid. You know what I mean? Since I was a young kid, if there's a food pyramid or whatever, you're supposed to eat this, supposed to eat greens. You can't eat this, you can't eat that. So we have to like undo that and just, I guess, get to the fundamental level of it.
Yes.
Which and before, like, I guess back in the day, what did we eat? We ate plants and fish and just the basic stuff, right? And nowadays there's like there's processed food everywhere.
Sure.
I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, so you're saying, so I could eat processed food and it's still, I guess, don't look at it like good or bad?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very difficult.
It's weird to me. I'm like, what? This is weird, you know?
Yeah.
And then thinking that too, I'm thinking, okay, because I do a full body workout with kettlebells once a week at least.
Okay.
I'm trying.
Yeah, awesome.
I'm working toward getting twice a week.
Yeah.
But even at that, I'm like, okay, say I was doing that, 5 times a week or whatever. And say if a person does eat bad or whatever, do you have to look at, I don't know, I'm still thinking of it at this mindset, like, do
Sure.
I have to look at it like calories, nutrients?
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Do you get to that level? Does a person get to that level?
Yeah,
Once
no.
they do start changing that?
Yeah. So I guess let's start with by me sharing all this newfound information to you, what
Right.
did it immediately do? Did it in a sense, well, tell me instead of me.
Well, it made me like look at it from your perspective, not so much like good and bad,
Mm-hmm.
but like actually look at it, like what's going on, like what are you actually doing? You know?
Did you feel less pressured?
Yeah, because yes, and if somebody is like telling me go and do this, because when I watch nutrition videos, that's it seems like they're doing, like, oh, you have to do this, you have to do that, don't eat donuts, don't eat pizza, eat this and that. But the way you're approaching it is like, think about it. Sit back, observe, like you're saying.
Yeah.
That's how it made me feel.
Which is the point, because what we've basically created was individuals who are anxious, they feel guilty, they're stressed, all from something that is actually a conditional need to human existence, which is to eat food. And so we've basically destroyed the gratifying experience of food. And now we've turned it into this, you must, you need to, you have to, or else you're going to explode with cancer. You're going to, just develop diabetes tomorrow. And it was never the food. It was our behaviors that evolved through our environmental changes in terms of like urbanization, civilization. And I will admit, yes, food companies as well, creating these very, very tasty foods that are higher calorie, that are lower nutrient. And as a result, we're now consuming more food, more calories, more energy. Okay. And we're moving less. What does that set us up for? Mm-hmm. That sets us up for these diseases that we are talking about, which is type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, high blood pressure. And that is not a result of the actual food within it of itself. It's actually from the behaviors surrounding everything.
The intake.
It's the intake. Let me tell you this. So one apple is about 80 calories on average, 80 calories, right? So think of an apple, and you're eating an apple. You have to chew it. It has some water in it. There's fiber around the skin. You're having to work, right?
Right.
80 calories. Now take a Reese's peanut butter cup, just one. That's 110 calories. You don't have to work for it. It tasted amazing. There was no chewing involved. It was just melting in your mouth. So what we have here now is we have food that is so high in calorie, and you want more of it, versus the plant foods, the whole foods that, man, you have to work for it. If someone comes to me and they tell me, Josh, I'm hungry, I'm going to say, eat an apple.
Right.
And I'm still hungry, eat a second apple. After the second apple, no one's really hungry. And their jaw's hurting. They're tired of eating. So, and it's not the individual foods themselves. It's the energy content contained within the food that eventually, if ate in excess for years, with a combination of low physical activity, with a combination of poor sleep habits, and maybe not moderating drug and alcohol use, well, yes, something bad is going to happen. But those are all things we can do. There's something we could do about it.
Right. Sorry, man. Thought I turned my phone off here.
No, you're good.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's awesome what you're talking about. Yeah, that's definitely a lot to think about.
It is.
And it seems like there's more consumption, there's more intake, we're eating more, there's stress eating. And I agree, like even like the food companies too, they want you to eat more because you pay more money.
Absolutely, yeah.
Stuff like that. And even I was thinking about we don't want to cook a meal. We'd rather eat it. Fast
Convenience.
food.
Yes,
exactly.
I look at H-E-B now. It's filled with chopped up fruits and vegetables. And we talked about this with Roger on his podcast, Charge the Line, of this idea of whole foods being more expensive than fast food. But it's a convenience factor that has been included to where prices of fruits and vegetables have gone up. You still buy whole produce. It's relatively cheap still.
Right.
Granted, everything has gotten
Of
expensive.
course, yeah.
But it's the chopped apples, it's the cut up fruits, the cut up vegetables that have that margin that's super high. So yes, that is expensive, but get your knife out, move your body a little bit more,
Yeah.
cut up your vegetables. It's still cheaper.
Even like cook your lunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when we got on a budget, we were doing lunches, so we had to make our lunch and stuff. And that in itself was a money saver for us.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you're real big into speaking of activity, you're real big into walking.
Yeah.
So what's the power of walking in your eyes?
Yeah. So the reason I like to frame it this way is because it's the easiest thing for anyone to do, right? Given that they have the ability to do so. And so it's easily accessible. You don't need anything. You just literally get up off of your chair and go for a walk. Now, some people my mother especially will say, well, I don't live in a safe neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's like, well, mother, I'm working on to get you out of that neighborhood. No. But yes, the reason I enjoy walking so much is because we do it every day, right? Whether you want to or not, you're going to walk. And I love that idea. And it's such an empowering message because it's all I'm really trying to share with people is if you were to wear a fitness tracker or use your cell phone, there's a health app in most cell phones. And you'll see steps. And you'll see that you've accumulated a number of steps within any given day. And then you'll see that you'll have an average of steps. And all I encourage is, hey, try to beat your best average. So say if someone walked 3,000 steps on a Monday, try to get 3,500 on Tuesday. Any increase in physical activity is only going to be beneficial to your body, to your health, and how you even manage and direct food that you eat.
Interesting. So along with being a dietitian, the physical activity is part of that.
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. I was listening to Eric Franco's podcast. I don't know if he still has it, but you were saying that he was saying like, people would ask him about what to eat, and he's like, I don't know. I can show you how to work out or whatever. But on your end, you're like, walking is good, and then also eating. You know what I mean? Both sides of the story.
Yeah.
So walking is huge, and it's like you said, you don't even have to have a membership anywhere. You don't have to have weights or nothing. Yeah. So it's one of the easiest forms of activity.
Exactly.
Okay.
And make it yours. You know, if you want to include it as a family activity, you know, if you want to, obviously walk your dog, you know, like there are many opportunities for you to take advantage of something so simple. So a lot of us are glued to the phone all the time, and it's some of us are glued to it like all day. Sure.
Would you say that aspect has an effect on somebody being physically active?
Yes, I would assume so. Mainly for the fact that most of the time we are scrolling on social media or just working, we're sitting down. And I've strived to incorporate this in my own life. Is anytime I catch myself scrolling for longer than 10 minutes, mindlessly, that's the key point there. I would prefer to get up and go for a walk while I'm doing that.
Nice. So mindlessly, what do you mean that's the key point?
Well, it's because at a certain point, you're going to have to be sitting down to do your work or your obligations or write or do this,
Gotcha.
You know,
like wasting time. I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the encouragement there is like, look, when they say, oh, I don't have time to exercise. Well, there it is.
There you
it's
go.
right in your face.
10 minutes. Hey, my good friend Dr. Gentry told me the best workout is the one you'll do.
Absolutely.
Wow.
I agree with that 100%.
Definitely. Wow. So the power of walking, snacks. That's one topic we mentioned in the Instagram when we were messaging.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
Okay. So what is a snack? It's a sexually attractive person. No. So the actual definition of a snack, shout out to my fiance again. She's a snack. But the actual definition of a snack is a small amount of food in between meals, right? No shit. But it's usually categorized as something that's less than 200 calories. At least that's what's in textbooks and whatnot.
Crazy.
Right? Because
Yeah.
it's like,
It's
where
a logical
on
explanation what a snack for what a
yeah,
snack is.
and not only that, nowadays it's like, where can you find a snack that's less than 200 calories? These snacks are ridiculous. You look on social media, Instagram now. Oh my gosh,
and apple's
they're
not
amazing.
considered a snack, even though it is.
Yeah. So yes, we'll start with some definitions. I love definitions, but I guess if I had to share my thoughts or my ideas about snacks and snacking, is number one, it's not physiologically required. Meaning you're not going to die if you don't have a snack. The body does not care for snacks. It does not need snacks. It's what humans enjoy. Snacks are great. Snacks are gratifying. They're fun. They're in wonderful packages. And so, again, this is, in my opinion and what I've seen, it's more of marketing than anything. And it's a way for us to spend a little bit more and to consume more. Now, they could care less whether companies, they can care less if we buy the snack and we eat it or not. All they care about is whether we purchased it or not. So that's where then I throw it back on the responsibility of us as an individual, as a consumer, is, well, you still can have it, but let's manage it. Let's manage it. Now, let's not overconsume these snacks.
Interesting.
And so most oftentimes, I prefer that most people focus on meals rather than snacks. Because all that really snacks is going to do is snacks also provide energy, calories. So all you're really doing is adding more calorie intake than necessary. That's the point of my whole idea about snacks.
Wow.
And so if you can create a little bit more filling, a little bit more gratifying meals, larger meals, there's no need for snacks. Now, if you want to enjoy it on a Sunday because you're with your family, 100%, rock on, go for it. But then again, if we're having a conversation about managing your weight, preventing certain diseases, then yes, we're going to look at snacking as a tool, as something that we could utilize when necessary, when it's appropriate.
It's almost like a luxury.
Just
Snacking.
pretty much. I mean, that's a great way to explain it.
Yeah, because it's like a luxury, and we do it stressfully too sometimes. I know I do. Just having a snack. So meals. That's the big thing.
Yes.
And is it like 3 meals a day, like we're always taught, or what?
Well,
what do we
I
do
like
about
to
that?
say, or I've adopted this approach when it comes to having meals throughout a day. Is they call it Dr. Kashi calls it a milestone method. So within a given day, you're going to have several opportunities to ingest a meal.
Okay.
Right? And that's different for everyone. And that's why I kind of say, hey, look, what's your schedule like? You wake up, you get ready for work, you go to work, you have a lunch or a designated meal break. You get out of work, you do some sort of activity, whether it's picking up your child from school or going to the gym or whatever the case may be, getting a haircut, and then you get home and then you go to bed. All those junction points are feeding opportunities.
Oh, wow.
And so now, instead of me saying, oh, you need to be eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because that's what society has said,
Right.
I'm just saying all those opportunities that are closely pertaining to you and you alone, insert 2 to 3 meals. That's it.
Nice.
And you are a professional in your own life. You know your schedule because you deal with it every single day.
Yeah.
So I give that flexibility, that freedom to that person and say, insert the meals that you feel most confident that you could stick to, that you would like to stick to consistently. Because there is something to be said about meal timing and having the same meals around the same time from just more of a biological standpoint. So it'll help with digestion, using the restroom, going to sleep. That there is something to that, to have your meal timing like on a clock work basis. But I don't even like to use clocks. So for example, if I'm telling someone, I never tell someone you need to eat at 12 or you need to eat at 3.
Right.
Again, I base it off the junction points to their life.
Person to person
Yes.
basis.
Yeah.
Interesting. So do you suggest or advise activity first and then eat, or for eat first and then activity, or how does that come about?
Yeah. In the end, as boring of a response as it's going to be, it's the one that you can actually implement and incorporate in a sustainable manner.
So yeah, I got you. So we have all this knowledge, we have all this stuff, but if you don't actually apply it,
Yeah.
it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Gotcha. Helsing on Twitch, appreciate you, man. That's awesome, man. I love this conversation. Just recently, I've been considering my health personally. For years, I just stopped working out after high school and all that stuff. And then I have 2 kids, and then I got a wife. I'm like, man, I want to go long. I want to live a little bit longer, and
Absolutely.
I know that being healthy, being more active, and that post that you put about can an obese person be healthy, I was like, wow, this is very interesting. Need to be more active, and then take a look at my eating habits and stuff like that. So this is helpful for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're not alone, because I never want this idea to be out there that I'm this perfect, organic, clean eating person and exercising 2 a days. No, I'm far from that. I'm just like you, man. In fact, the last 6 months, I've went from exercising regularly to almost next to nothing.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
And that's for me to deal and to manage and to figure out on my own. And I don't give myself a hard time for it either, including myself. But I just look for opportunities and discussion with my fiance now and how we want to incorporate that. So it's more, it's almost like you're talking about finances. Think of it that way, and hopefully the audience can hear this as well. Start having conversations with your significant other about physical activity as if it was finances. When are we going to schedule time for this? What activities do we enjoy? It doesn't have to be like you're just dreading it. Like, make it fun.
Yes.
Make it something that it could be sustainable.
Right on. And then even to get to the point where it's like, okay, we're gonna die, 100% chance.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Our kids are not gonna be with us. Think about that too.
Absolutely.
And I think, I don't know, we don't have a will, but I think we need to get one. You know what I mean? As far as, and I think our culture doesn't think about that at all either. So
Yeah.
barbecue plates sell when somebody dies and stuff like that. So we get into that. But yeah, I appreciate you coming on the show. Is there anything else you want to share?
I can go for another hour, but we'll save it for another time.
Yeah, right on. So I just want to make sure. So we talked about what is health, power of walking, snacks, good versus bad food, alcohol. A lot of people consume alcohol.
Yeah.
So what's that? We could talk about that before we take off, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess let me tell you this. Everything I've shared today, I have biases, right? Biases are not bad, but we should be aware of them. And so my focus when I'm sharing information, I'm helping clients and patients alike, is what are they doing? What are they currently doing? Bringing that awareness to them. What are they willing to do? And what can they manage across time? That's all my concern is. And so outside of that, I'm merely just sharing this information, being a resource to everyone. And they have every obligation and every decision to make for themselves and the people that they love.
Right on.
So that's
awesome.
more of a disclaimer there.
Well, yeah, man, that's awesome. Well, I guess we've all got biases.
Yes.
And I try not to be biased on the podcast as well. Just have different types of people on.
Just try to stay neutral.
Yeah, and sometimes I find myself, I really don't want that. I really don't want to interview that person.
Sure.
But then I'm like, I want to be biased. I want to be unbiased. So
Yeah.
I hear you on that.
Well, Joe Rogan's really good at that.
Oh man,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, he's one of the. I don't listen to him a lot, but he definitely, his style of interviewing is kind of what I find that I relate to.
Yeah.
Because I like talking to people.
Well, I think what he does well is he's always curious.
Yes.
Instead of getting combative or reactive, he's just like, "Oh, that's interesting. You think that way. Tell me more about that."
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and he makes it so easy for them to just talk. And in 3 hours, how do you do a podcast for 3 hours? You know what I mean?
So back to your question about alcohol, is that you're going to have a variety of different organizations out there say their piece about alcohol. So, for example, the World Health Organization, they say that no amount of alcohol is healthy and is just completely harmful. And then you're going to have another organization or society say that if you're a man and you decide to drink in a given day, what's healthy is up to 2 drinks for a man. For a woman, it's up to 1 drink for a woman. Now, I've read this before, and most people think, oh, that's 2 drinks a day. But they didn't say that. They actually said, if you choose to drink on any given day, it's up to 1 drink. So they're basically saying, we're not saying daily.
No.
Don't start this as a new lifestyle. We're saying the day, any given day that you choose to drink, it's up to 2. So party's over. And so I take more of that approach is, look, alcohol causes all sorts of problems. If that was never you, right on, man. Keep it up. You don't need it. It's a toxic. It's a toxin to the body. But if someone just incorporates it and is able to manage it, from a health standpoint, I just say stick to that rule, which is anytime you do decide to crack one open, man, just keep it very minimal.
Yeah. So since you're, I keep going. This is like the
I can keep going too.
This is the Hispanic goodbye like 3, 4, 5 times.
Oh yeah, I love it. I love it. Yeah, yeah. We could do it 15 more times.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So as a certified nationwide and through Texas, is there stuff that you can and cannot say?
Aside from any like legal stuff,
Right.
No, I could pretty much provide everything under the sun in the scope of my practice.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking that, and then too, because I know your upbringing is religious. Do you ever put that? I guess associate that, not associate, but bring that into your practice. You know what I'm saying?
Not necessarily, but we are trained as dietitians to be culturally competent and culturally aware of others, of our clients and our patients, for sure.
Yeah, right on. That's awesome, man. Appreciate it. Did we talk about weight management?
No, we didn't.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
What's going on there? So weight management, when I think of that, is managing your weight, obviously.
Yes. Yeah. And so I guess this would be more of my approach. If someone comes to me or there's people in the audience who, Josh, how can I lose weight? How can I gain weight? How can I just manage my weight? I clump that all under weight management.
Okay.
And again, you can also look at it, if you'd like, as finance, managing your finances, managing your relationship. When I present it that way, it's more of, it takes that pressure, that negative connotation or attitude towards you're going on a diet. It's more like, no, we're just trying to manage like everything else we have going on in our life.
Right.
And so my typical approach for someone who's wanting to manage their weight is we start with, you've made it this far, right? Because there's all this pressure, this pressure all the time. And people get to a certain weight for a variety of different reasons, reasons that I couldn't sit here and just name if I was just meeting them. Right. Or list. And there's no judgment to it. It's, hey, we're here in this situation and you're aware about it and you would like to make some changes, which is amazing. So let's start with that. You made it this far. So great job. So what can we focus on first? And I like to focus, at least in my approach, is let's figure out what is enough for you. And what does that mean? Well, it's enough food for what you need in your desired direction. And there are somebody's thinking, well, how much is that? And I said, we're going to learn. So up to this point, you've been eating, again, a variety of different meals, a variety of different foods in the ways that you like. And at various times. So now let's pay attention, right? And so that's my first phase or my first level when I'm working with somebody. Right. Is this first 5 to 7 days, this week 1, we're just going to pay attention. You're going to start to, again, look down at what you're eating, not in a judgmental way, just curious, a curious way. Then you're going to either write down, take a picture, put in your notes what you ate. And you're going to report that back to me. And you're going to talk about, were you hungry before you arrived to that meal? Did you leave overly filled, feeling like you were going to just explode? Or did you leave satisfied and complete? How often did you eat? What times were you eating? This is now a discovery. This is now day 1 of building your skills for a lifetime.
Right.
And so we first try to figure out how much we're eating. Okay. And once we manage that, we can move on to level 2. Level 2 is now patterns, eating patterns. And again, I'm adopting a lot of this stuff from Dr. Kashi because I truly believe in it. And I feel like it really sets somebody up to build the skills necessary for food eating in their body forever. And so the second one again is patterns. So what does pattern mean? It's basically what we talked about earlier. Any given day, your milestone and your junction points of how often or when are you eating. And when I say when, I don't mean time, like we talked about previously. I don't mean 12 o'clock. I don't mean 8 o'clock. And that's what people think, right?
Yeah.
When I say time, I just mean, was it before work or after work? Was it during your meal break? Was it after? Was it after you picked up your kids and y'all all ate? That was dinner time for you? I don't care about if it was 6, 7, or 8. Why? Because everyone has different dinner times. Yeah. You might have 6 p.m. dinner. The next person over might have 7 p.m. dinner. So there's no right dinner time from a clock standpoint, but there is when the family gets together to eat that last meal of the day.
Right.
That's dinner time for y'all. And so then we discover that. And we try our best to strive for consistency within that pattern.
Interesting.
Right? Can we? Well, we actually do already. We do a good job of our eating patterns.
Yes.
But if I identify in a patient or client that their meal patterns are chaotic, they're eating at this time and then that time, but the next day it's at a completely different time because obviously I have to use time to help with initially.
Gotcha. Yes.
But we notice it's chaotic, then we want to get a little bit more focused in on, well, how can we set ourselves up to be a little bit more structured?
Right.
How can we have a little bit more structured feedings?
So in dealing with weight management, having that structure helps.
It helps, definitely.
Okay.
Yes. Because again, what it helps with on a more sciencey way, it helps regulate your appetite. It helps you go to sleep at the end of the day. It has to do with a thing called circadian rhythms.
So your body adapts to it?
Exactly.
Okay.
To put it any other way, your body will adapt and adjust to it.
Okay. So that's what you want.
Yes, exactly. Okay. That's what you want because it's going to help with a lot of other things as a side effect, like appetite, like looking forward to your meal, getting hungry at certain times. Think about animals, dogs. They come to their meals, and I'm not saying that we need to turn into them or act like them.
Right.
But again, you came to me with a problem, and we're trying to solve it. So here are some tools or solutions. It doesn't mean that it's the right one, but we're going to experiment. We're going to experiment together. And you're going to test it, and you're going to come back to me, and we're going to talk about it, and then we're going to go back to the drawing board.
Nice.
Until we get it right.
Nice. Man, that's awesome. Yeah, I've heard that too somewhere, to keep not like a schedule, but like you're saying, there's a set times that you do have meal plans.
And we do that already.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Especially like in the school system.
Yeah.
Breakfast, lunch. Yeah. Get home and eat. Esteban, appreciate you on YouTube. Hello, Corpus, he says. Yeah. So when I think of weight management too, I'm thinking of like people not liking the way they look.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a perception. Like, man, I don't like the way I look.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's the base of where it starts. And so we don't necessarily look at it like I need to lose weight for health.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Do you see that? Or, I mean, do you think there's a discrepancy between those two? Or
no, I see it more as it's still the same problem someone's trying to solve.
Right.
And if it's actually interfering with them on a psychological level, I'll refer out.
As far as like them, not the way they look, or what do you mean?
Causing harm to themselves, things of that nature. And I would send them to the psychologist or say, hey, have you seen somebody? Things of that nature, just to put the disclaimer out there.
Yeah, no, right on.
But I understand what you're saying, which is, usually it's to change your body composition or the way you look for health, or for just because you want to feel better, you want to have confidence, you want to look great at the beach. And again, the problem is still the same, the weight management, regardless. And the cool thing is that someone who comes to me who wants to look better at the beach, by default, they're still going to improve their health.
Right.
So I don't even need to talk about that.
Okay. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So in losing weight, you're improving your health.
Correct.
Essentially, which is what, I guess, to longevity, whatever, all those positive things from health. Yeah, that's awesome. Weight management. All right, cool. So I think we cover everything here. What is health? the power of walking, snacks, good food and bad food. We kind of touched on that,
Touched
right?
about it briefly.
Yeah. So
Can talk about it.
So you don't like. So you don't like to call it good or bad, right?
It sets people up for feelings of anxiety, guilt, pressure, all unnecessary
I hate
things.
this food, and then they start feeling bad about themselves.
Correct. Every time.
Man,
Yeah.
what? Man, that sucks.
Yeah, that is. That does.
It's
90,000 times it sucks.
Oh my God! Like I find myself doing that all the time. Like, man, I just had a freaking breakfast on a bun.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Or I just had a tortilla, 2 tacos.
Yeah.
And man, that's crazy. If we could flip that,
Correct.
I think we would the society would be live more happier.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah. Things are already tough.
Yeah.
And that's the approach I take as a dietitian. Things are already difficult.
Yeah.
Why on earth, as a clinician or a dietitian, would I make things harder
Oh,
and
yeah.
more difficult and frustrating for people?
Yeah.
So I'm going to break that cycle as a nutritionist, and I'm going to actually help people.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah, I like your attitude on that. That's awesome, man. I really like this interview. It's been helpful for me.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for coming on. I guess we're coming to an end. Is there anything that you're working on currently that you want us to know about, or you want to plug anything?
Sure. Yeah. I am currently working on a 4-week course. I sound so cringe when I say that.
A course, just in itself.
Yes, exactly. I try to figure out another word,
Call it a boot camp.
There you go. Boot camp course, educational program. But anyways, 4 lessons, if you will, to help people manage their weight or whatever they would like in the realm of food eating in their body. Basically, this was kind of some certain things were kind of a teaser, a preview to what I'm currently working on. And the idea, again, is to bring my approach that I've adopted and I've learned throughout the years across many individuals and professionals, and packaging that and putting a spin on it and helping people build the skills necessary for them to manage their food eating in their body.
Right on.
So I'm working on that. Obviously, there will be signs.
Yeah, no, that's definitely like a hustle especially for online content creators.
Yeah.
So I see your posts on Instagram and stuff. I'm like, dude, he's actually out there trying to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how do you find yourself doing that on social media? Like for I guess marketing. I don't know what you call it. How do you find yourself doing that?
What do you mean,
like just marketing your brand? I guess it seems like that's what you're working on towards.
Yeah.
Like you have a brand.
You could call it a personal brand. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're working toward that. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I was just wondering just getting your thoughts on that.
Yeah.
Because I have a brand as well, and I'm trying to figure stuff out too. And
you're doing a really good job.
And we mentioned AI earlier, you know what I mean? And I mentioned that in several other podcasts. It's something that I bring up. Some people have good thoughts. Some people have bad thoughts about it,
Yeah.
So I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. So there's the what are we on, the 3rd goodbye already?
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, if nothing else, how do we find you online? What are your tags?
Yeah, so on Instagram, my personal account is going to be JJediV.
Okay, Jedi.
Yeah.
Are you into Star Wars?
That's my middle name.
Oh, no. Okay. So JJediV everywhere?
Just for Instagram.
For Instagram,
Yeah.
okay. And you got a YouTube channel as well?
YouTube channel I do with my fiance. We recently started that.
Nice.
It's JSV1.
All right.
Yeah.
You can find them there, you guys. Appreciate y'all. If nothing else, man, we'll say goodbye. Appreciate you
Awesome.
coming on.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
Corpus Christi Originals, you guys. Stay tuned for the next couple episodes. We got some other people coming on, but every week we'll be here. And tune in. If you want to support the show, you can go shop some merch at corpuschristioriginals.com. Appreciate you guys. Have a good one.